What is up, powerhouses? It is time. The Friday Face-Off has arrived, guys. I'm here with Ross Christifulli. Ross, what is good, my man? How are you?
Doing awesome. Sitting here at a coffee shop because my internet went down, but I think that the audio will be able to make it through.
Love it. No one is going to stop us from today's Friday Face-Off. Guys, if you're watching with us live, you know the deal. Hit that like button below. Hit that love button. If you're coming from Ross's group, welcome to Prospecting Powerhouses. Happy to have you here. Give Ross a shout out. For
This
those
is
of you,
the place.
go
I was
ahead.
gonna say this is the place to be on a Friday at 1 o'clock Eastern.
Absolutely, 100%. Guys, if you don't know who Ross is a great digital marketer, business coach. He teaches people fantastic prospecting methods. And the exciting thing here today is Ross and I have differing opinions on cold calling. So what does that mean? We're coming here to do some Apollo Creed style, Rocky style face-offs. There won't be any black eyes here, but there will be a lot of value bombs. We're going to have a good time today. Basically, how we're going to do this is we're going to be sharing value on both ends of the spectrum. We're going to get started first with some of our initial thoughts on cold calling. Feel free at any point, guys, to share your thoughts on cold calling, maybe some of your experiences, and I'll be sharing some of my thoughts on cold calling and maybe some alternatives. At the end of the day, there's no real winner. The focus and the real winner is you guys being able to be here and listen to this. I say this all the time, and I'm certain Ross will agree with me. There's no such thing as a wrong method. As long as you implement, take action, and utilize something that's going to, get a return on your investment for time, your finances, everything else, there's no wrong answer. So we're here to kind of share our value here each way, but feel free to cheer for whoever you want. We don't care. We're excited to be here, guys. Again, if you're live, throw a W in the comments below. If you're watching on replay, throw an R in there. I see a whole bunch of people here. Appreciate you guys. Excited to have you. We're going to get started first, kind of laying out what we believe is the cold calling prospecting method. So I'm going to start here by stating, what we're doing here. As I mentioned, we're going to be doing this Friday face-off. It's going to be a good time. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to share a lot of value here. Now, look, again, I'm against cold calls. Ross is for cold calls. So this is going to be a very unique opportunity to kind of see both of our reasons as to why. Maybe Ross will convince me today to want to do cold calls. Maybe I'll convince Ross to not do cold calls. I don't think that's going to happen, though. But we'll see, guys. It's going to be a good time. What I want to start with here is basically our elevator pitch. So I'm going to kick it over to Ross here. Ross is going to tell you why he believes cold calls is an effective prospecting method and how you can utilize it. Ross, floor is yours, my man.
Okay, well, what I'd like to do is, first off, with cold calls, say I'm not against, like you said, any prospecting methods. Like I think that doing stuff online, cold email, that stuff's great. But in my mind, I like to think of it like going to the gym. So if you go to the gym and you're wanting to burn calories, the quickest way to burn them immediately is on the treadmill. But if you want to have long lasting, it's like a machine working in the background for you. You go work out because then your muscles are constantly burning those calories. So in the same way, I believe in all those other prospecting methods, but I feel they're a little bit slower to get the results. So for beginners, they're just trying to get money in the door. They're trying to get things happening. And so they don't have that machine running in the background for them yet. And so cold calling is the quickest way to start seeing results. But it's definitely not the only thing they should be doing, but it should be always the foremost. You always implement that in there with the other aspects of it. I feel like sometimes guys like you and I who have a bigger agencies already, sometimes, because I'll be honest, now that I have a bigger agency, I don't have a whole lot of time anymore for as much cold calling as I used to because I do it with students all the time. But I'm still taking on clients. But I feel like sometimes we forget that when we first started, we didn't have that coming to us. We didn't have
Absolutely.
that online presence. And so the cold calling is the quickest way to get those immediate tangible results. To me, the proof is just in when people try it. I'll let you take your elevator pitch because I'm sure we'll start going back and forth on some of the roadblocks people are coming across.
Love it, man. Okay, that's awesome. Guys, let me know in the comments. Let Ross and I know if you are actually doing cold calls now. If you're doing cold calls, write CC. If you're not doing cold calls, write no CC. Makes it pretty simple, right? Pretty easy. We want to kind of get an idea of who's doing what. Oh, looks like Sean wants you to knock me out. So I guess we'll have to see, Sean, if I'm going to make you a believer at the end of this call, my man. All right. So here's my elevator pitch on the idea of cold calls. Like I said, Ross and I are in the agreement. There's no such thing as a wrong prospecting method. At the end of the day, you could do basically anything related to taking action, and there's a chance you can get a client. My focus is on efficiency. That's what I want to be doing here. I want things that are efficient, high impact, easy to implement. In prospecting on demand, we call these quick wins. I have an entire training on quick wins, and it's also part of the POD Quick Win Challenge that you guys can go see at any point on the Prospecting on Demand page. And our focus on quick wins is basically what Ross is stating for cold calls. How can we create quick opportunities, right? What is the low-hanging fruit? Like Ross is saying, well, it's pretty easy to pick up a phone, dial someone up, and try it out. Now, I don't disagree with that. However, it comes down to what you're saying on that call, who you're actually calling. Are you speaking to the decision maker? Is what you're offering of value? Are you just another solicitor? Here's my thought process. I'm guessing just like you, Ross, you get calls almost daily from solicitors. Sometimes they're real people that are in, call centers in Dallas with 5,000 people asking you about health insurance. Other times they are automated recordings asking you to purchase a new security system. No one likes those calls. They're very infuriating. They frustrate people. No one's a fan, right? Now, that is my mindset if you're going to call someone to make an offer for your marketing solution or your business solution in any way. Now, does that mean it's impossible to get on a call and be savvy enough to create an offer? Absolutely not. But I feel like you're going against the odds. And what I want to be able to provide is with the odds. Don't let the house win. This is not a casino. You have better opportunities. What I do instead of cold calls is what we call warm calls. And I'll be sharing that here in a minute, but that's my elevator pitch. That's my thought process. So Ross, I'll kick it back to you. Why don't you tell us some of your initial cold call tactics, some of the best things that you've seen with cold calling, maybe some of the results. We can get started from there.
Yeah. And do you mind if I add in like little bits of like
course.
Friendly rebuttals?
Please.
So here's my thinking on the matter, because you were talking about efficiency. To me, one of the most inefficient things because I'll be honest, when I first came into the digital marketing scene, because I've been a sales guy since I was 15 years old, probably sooner than that, but I didn't legitimately become a sales guy till I was 15 years old, 27 now. And I came in and I saw that there was a big disconnect, especially with the course I came into. Only like 2% of the people were making money. And I looked at the techniques that they're using, and they were all using things like client acquisition funnels, cold emails, cold outreach. And they were doing all these things, which are not bad techniques. But the thing that I realized was these guys are not personally hopping on the phone with people. And people are afraid of rejection. See, I've been a door-to-door ministry person since I was born. I've done door-to-door ministry, so I'm okay with hearing, no's. So when people typically say no cold calling, no, I don't want to do it, I don't want to do it, that pain point is because they're scared of rejection. But the fact of the matter is, if I send out 500 emails, I have about probably 498 people who are going to delete it or put it in their trash right away. I just didn't see it. And so what happens is the other reason why people don't like this cold calling is because they're cold calling the wrong people and they're saying the wrong thing. If you cold call the right people and you say the right thing, you will absolutely see results. For instance, if I go to D7 Lead Finder tool and I scrape 500 emails or phone numbers and I cold call all of them, I'm going to have terrible results, because I don't know if those people can afford my business.
Absolutely.
So they're cold calling people that can't afford their business, and then they're saying a really spammy thing to them. So most digital marketers, when I first came, I had 2 brick and mortar businesses. The things that they were saying was like, you don't have a Google or a Google Facebook or a Google page, or you don't have a Pixel installed. And they were saying all these dumb things to try to like find their in. And those are really dumb things to say. Like, every person in their right mind calls up from India going, you don't have a Google Pixel installed. You get that 5 times a day when you're in business. And then the second thing is they don't even know what a pixel is. They don't even get that. So my whole spiel on it is, if you call the right people and you say the right thing, you are more efficient, because it's so much harder to say no to someone in person than it is to drop it in their box.
100%.
Especially,
100%.
There's a joke that I always tell students that really solidifies the whole thing, shows what I talk about. But there's a prisoner who goes into he gets put in prison, and sits down, and he's next to his cellmate, and he hears someone yell out 6, and everybody starts laughing. And then he hears someone yell out 15, and everyone starts laughing. And he goes, "What's so funny about those numbers?" And the guy goes, "Well, we've all known each other's jokes so long that we just numbered them. We don't even want to say the joke." And he's like, "Watch, yell out 12." So he goes, 12, and nobody laughs. And he goes, "It's all the way you say it, man." And so the idea behind it is, it's the way you say something. If you come across like a spam, and I'll get into some of those tactics in a little bit, but if you come across as a spammy salesperson, that is by far the quickest way to get shut out.
Without
And
a doubt.
most of the people who they don't want cold calling, it's because they hate being cold called. That's why they know they hate it. But if you have the right techniques, then people don't hate it because you're taking a different avenue. I don't know if you want me to share those now, or if you want to.
Well, here I'm gonna state my piece here, and here's my thought. Now, Ross, I agree with you with what you said, but there's a couple things there that I think are very key for everyone to understand. Right? You've had experience as a minister, right? Going door to door, doing ministry. Huge advantage for someone with confidence. The idea of rejection, right? Very important to understand. 2, you're clearly someone that's loquacious, the ability to adapt and speak with confidence to state what you're trying to state without stuttering, stammering, being afraid, being nervous, sweaty palms, sweaty hands, and that makes it easier for you to get on a call. Now, if anyone has been in Prospecting Powerhouse before, they might have seen me do a couple cold calls before actually on Powerhouses. You might be wondering, Alex, how could you be against cold calls? It's not that I'm against cold calls. I'm fine doing cold calls. I can do them. It's more to the fact, is there better methods that we can utilize? So now Ross mentioned cold emails and cold outreach. That's my big thing. So it's perfect to reach out to it and make sense of it. Ross is right. It is a numbers game. At some point, you're going to get some no's, but you will get a few yeses. Now, here is the major difference, in my opinion. 2 sides of it. Well, I just did 4. So 2 sides of it. On one side, you've got more automation, right? You set up an email sequence on Mailshake with some follow-up emails. You set it up, send it out, and it's done. An hour, it will be max. Now you've got that in. Now you've got opportunities. Guess what you can do with the extra time you have? If you decide, you can go ahead and cold call, or you can go ahead and use LinkedIn, or you can go ahead and do something else that will utilize your time effectively. I'm talking about time utilization and effectiveness. That's a big key, because time, without a doubt, is our most valuable resource. That's one side. The other side is how you're actually going about doing cold calls. Now, if you're calling businesses up front without any opportunity, without them knowing who you are, your business, and what you're offering, like Ross said, it's very critical that you're going to have the right information to provide for them. You can't just be there and start selling them on something. Everyone knows that. We all agree. But here's the difference. If you're not someone that, and you have to be introspective and know yourself, just like Ross is capable of saying, look, I know I'm a confident person. I know I'm capable of getting on the phone. Be introspective with yourself. There's a lot of entrepreneurs and people watching here today that may feel uncomfortable getting on the phone. Now, I think both Ross and I would say, hey, I challenge you just to call anyways, not even for the result to get it closed. Just step out of your comfort zone. Create an opportunity for yourself. Just make sure that you can speak to someone in a business setting, not just a friend of yours, not just your parents, someone that you don't know at all. And if they reject you, what do? Ross and I will both agree. On to the next one, because there's a lot of fish in the sea, right? But unfortunately, some people can't get over that hump. Now, I'll give you a quick story. When I started Prospecting on Demand about 1 year and 3 months ago, one of the first people I spoke to, I'm not going to say his name, but one of the first people I spoke to was telling me about his inefficiency with cold calling at the time. And he was telling me that he was unable to even close one client through cold calls. Now, obviously, I'm using this as an advantage to state why my methods would potentially be better than cold calls, but I want to hear him out. I'm not just diving into, oh, you should be doing LinkedIn. Oh, you should be doing cold emails. Let me hear you out. What's the reality? So this person had called 500 businesses over the last, I can't remember how long, might have been a month, might have been 2 weeks, not 100% sure, maybe 20 to 50 calls a day or so, might have been 10 days, 14 days, I think. And basically what had happened was he had put in all his effort into script building, into finding the right businesses, into reaching out to the decision makers, making proposal offers, and he just couldn't really put it all together. And all that rejection and failure kind of dawned on him to the point that he no longer could take the pressure and he needed some other method. I think that's what most people experience with cold calls. Now, if you start cold calling and you're a very confident person and you're able to adapt and you're able to utilize scripts that Ross might provide or someone else might provide, or you create your own and you understand your customer's pain point, there's certainly opportunity for people to want to listen to you and hear your voice. But I have a different idea for it. Now, before I get there, I'm going to kick this back to Ross. He can share with you some of his ideas on great cold calling tactics. And then I'm going to tell you when I get back to it, what I call warm calls. And I think this is going to be an interesting one. And I think you guys will like it. Ross, floor is yours.
Yeah. So what I'd like to, going into this address is I actually think most people come into the market not cold calling. Cold calling is not popular. So most of the people who come into here, they come to an ad that says, how to make $10,000 a month without cold calling, blah, blah, blah. So most people, the last thing they ever try is cold calling. But so you had mentioned if you're confident, you can cold call. What I've actually found is the people who are least confident are actually better on a cold call. And the reason for that is because, can you hear me okay? Okay, I lost your mic. It must have been just muted on Zoom. But what I have found is that most cold callers, they get so scripted and they become so confident that when you hear them on the phone, you immediately figure this is a salesperson. And it sounds like someone pulled a string. So the people who get outside of the comfort zone and they're kind of, you can tell that this isn't what they do every day, but they're following my script of how to get people engaged and how to speak to the gatekeeper, not past the gatekeeper, and things like that. They start seeing insane results. So for instance, you take a guy like Jim. He's one of my students. He was also in the Faith program with me. And he went 12 months with 0 clients, trying all of these tactics of cold emails and funnels, all this stuff. Couldn't land anyone. He joins my program. Within the first week, he's got all these different businesses working with him. And then 3 months or 2 months later, he lands his first regular paying client. And this guy's a little older. He's in his mid-40s. No offense, Jim. And so he's learning new tricks. You take a guy like David French. He was in all the same programs I was. Couldn't land clients. Starts cold calling. Boom. I think that what it is, though, is you and I also have one other disconnect that I think people need to know. I am a big believer in my value ladder. So I'm sure you have your own front end offers, whatever, my own value ladder. But I took what Russell Brunson says in Expert Secrets super to heart. He had an illustration where he said that there was the guy who wanted to work in the mall at the shirt store. And so what he ends up doing is he just goes in, starts helping them out, leaves. Next day does the same thing. And then they're like, do you want a job? So he proved his worth. I feel like one thing that I used to always say to these yellow pages people and stuff when they'd come into my businesses when I owned brick and mortar was I would say to them, if you're willing to let me pay you based off of the results, or at least prove to me that it works, I will be your best customer. No one was ever willing to do that. Because in my opinion, if they felt strong enough about their product, if they had that much conviction that this was going to be profitable, because I don't just want my money back, I want a return on it, then they'll give me a little mini trial of it. No one was ever willing to do it. So I am a big believer in trials, which I know a lot of people aren't. But if you offer a trial to someone who can afford you and you keep it short, just a 3 to 7 day trial, and you crush results for them, there's no reason why they won't hire you. So now it's much easier to cold call people because you're not cold calling someone saying, give me $1,500, give me $2,500 for my service. You're saying, you're basically asking for a chance to give them 3 to 5 days of leads to their business. Who wouldn't want free customers? And you're saying no strings attached. I'm going to, do this. You crush results. And almost every one of my students, a lot of the people, they get in there and say, hey, if this works really good, how much is this going to cost me? Because I'm interested in this. So this is how you get your in. That's the hardest part in cold calling is just getting your foot in the door. So you get your in and then you just prove your results and there's no reason why they won't hire you on. But I'll go through some of my tactics here that I do. So the first thing that I do is all of the people who have joined my program, they're all students. And if you think about it, all of us are students of something, right? So what I have them do is when they cold call someone and they call someone who can afford it, let's just say, because a lot of people like working with chiropractors, no clue why, but we'll just go at
I don't get that. We could have a whole nother one about that one. We could have a whole other one.
Yeah, I think it's just some kid some guy decided he was going to get some chiropractors, and now everybody thinks that's the only business available. But anyways, so let's say you cold call a chiropractic office. So if you understand the gatekeeper, gatekeepers hate being busy for one. They are the people who are, they have a ego bite because they are constantly being told what to do at the office. They are the lowest on the totem pole. I was a gatekeeper at one point. I understand that. They're the lowest on the totem pole. All of the nurses and assistants are constantly going up to the front telling them what to do. And so they got a little bit of a power issue. They like to be able to enforce the little power they have. And that's where most rejection comes in, because they feel like I can say no. And so they just want to stick it to these people because it's fun. But you can change that around by giving them their respect. And when you play to their, that you understand them, you call them up, and I'll just kind of say my script that I do. So where most digital marketers, or just one of them at least, so most people they'll call up and they're like, hey, blah, 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 chiropractic, how are you doing? Hi, my name's blah, blah, from this marketing company, and I'm blah, 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 blah. I was wondering if I could blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. Could I set up a blah, blah, blah meeting and blah, 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 blah? No, we're good. We're not interested. Bloop. Well, cold calling doesn't work. That's because you suck at it. What you have to do is right out of the gate, we're digital marketers. We understand like asking questions and stuff and ad copy. You got to get them engaged. So when they say, hello, blah, 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 how can I help you? What I do is I immediately reverse the role and I say, hey, how's it going? It immediately gets them now talking to you, throws them off kilter. They're not used to people saying that. They're used to people complaining about an appointment or something right away. And then this very next line is so critical. Give me just 1 second. I got to make sure the wife's okay. Hey, dear, I'm in the middle of something. Can I call you back?
And Sean, while he's doing that, I'm going to answer you. Sean mentioned if you do 1 hour of cold calling and 1 hour of cold email, how many appointments would you get with each method? Sean, it's a good question. I like the question. I think ultimately the reality of it is going to be you don't have the answer right up front because there are a lot of variables, right? The first variable is one, who's the person doing the cold calls? Two, who's writing the emails, right? So there's a lot of variables. Now, you want an answer. So here's the reality. It's going to depend based on you understanding your customer avatar. If you really understand what your customers need from you, you're going to be just fine. That's really the key. You need to understand their pain points. That's what Ross is talking about here, being able to really point in on what their pain points are. Now, Ross is not even talking about pain points of what they need for your digital marketing services. He was talking about the pain points of a gatekeeper just being a gatekeeper, not having the power they want in their business. Touch on that, speak to that, right? It's the same thing across all prospecting mediums. No matter what prospecting method you're doing, it's a requirement that you understand your customers and your ideal prospects' biggest pain points. You can quite literally step into their shoes, resonate with them, and be able to provide them value to the point that takes away from their idea of cynicism, skepticism, and say, I want to work with you. Ross, continue, my man.
Yeah, sorry, my wife's pregnant, and so when she calls, I drop everything.
Congratulations, man.
Thanks, man. Yeah, so anyways, what I was saying is what I do is this very next line is so critical. Even if people get nothing out of my script other than this is one of the most important things. I say to them after they tell me how they're doing, I say, I'm not sure if you can help me, but I'm hoping that you can. It's harder to say no to somebody who asked you for help. It's much harder to say no to. It's easy to say no to someone who's saying, I'm going to help you.
Ross, I have an amazing story for you on this. I love it. I want to share this with you. You're going to love this. A couple people here in Powerhouses have heard it. If you haven't heard it, you're going to love it because this really relates to what Ross just said. I mention this all the time. I mention the idea of people wanting to help people who want to help themselves. Here's a great story from Chris Rock, of all people. Chris Rock, famous comedian in LA, got his car and broke down on the side of I-10, I think it was, and he pulls over on the side of the road and he starts waving his hands. Anyone stop, help me, please, someone help me. This is Chris Rock too, not just a random guy. Someone please help me. No one stops. Everyone's just flying by. They're focused on their day, on their priorities and their needs. Okay, well, Chris Rock can't just sit there all day, right? He's got to start helping himself. Throws the car in neutral, goes into the back of it, takes off his shirt, and he literally just starts pushing this car. What happens right away, Ross? You already know. People start pulling up behind him. Hey, can I help you? Do you need help? What's the difference? What's the difference? What Ross and I are mentioning here is people want to help people who are willing to help themselves. Not just the ones like, hey, I need it, I need it, I need it, I need it. I'm desperate, I'm desperate. That's not what we're talking about. But someone that's willing to put themselves out there to say, hey, I'm looking for help, that's really valuable. And I'll mention afterwards, I'll let Ross continue my cold calls, which I call market research and warm calls. And I'll share with you my thoughts on that as well. But I thought that would be a fun little story to add on here. Go ahead, Ross.
Yeah. So what I was going to say is after, this thing was, my phone started having the volume. After I do that and I say, not sure if you can help me, I'm hoping you can. Now they're listening. So now they're engaged. Like, okay, well, what does he need help with? And I tell them, so I'm in a class, or I'm a part of a class, and we need to put in a week of on time with a chiropractor, whatever it is. I don't even tell them what I'm doing yet, because this releases a chemical, adrenaline, in their brain. And until they receive a dopamine, they're going to be confused and they're interested. I need their intention. I say, I need to put in a week of volunteer time. And at the end of it, all I need is a testimonial from the doctor or whoever. And I'm wondering if he would be able to hop on the phone and see if this is something I can do. And then they're confused and they say, okay, well, what is it that you need help with? Like, what do you do? And then I say, this is where they feel like, oh, he's not a sales guy, he's unscripted. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm actually a digital marketer, but I just went back for some continuing education to sharpen up my skills on some new points. And so now what I need to do is just try out these new tactics and get a testimonial. I probably on average will get them about 5 to 15 new patients this week. And so let me go back and kind of talk about that for a second. If I'm a new student, if I'm a curious student, whatever be the case, I can't turn around and charge them $1,500 to $2,500. So I have to make sure that they know that you're a marketer that went back for that you're just doing some continuing education, because now your value is still there. The second part of that is we're just playing trigger words, because you have to think about how is that assistant going to relay this to the doctor. So I have this story where, because you never want to give the gatekeeper too much information. You do that, you screw yourself and shoot yourself in the foot. The way that I come up with my scripts is I write it out, I do some stuff, and then what I do is I'll freestyle and I'll start calling people, and I start testing these things out myself. Well, this one time I tried out a script that was horrible that I wrote, and I gave the gatekeeper just way too much information. She was super excited. Like, this script would have been amazing if the doctor would have answered. She was like ecstatic about it. And she said, I'm going to put you on hold. I want to talk to the doctor about it. She forgets to hit the hold button. So I can hear how she's relaying this to the doctor. She botches it, does a terrible job. And he says, no, I'm not interested. And so I'm like, oh, I screwed the pooch on that one. I should have just, told him. So it was very clear, like, okay, my initial tactic, if I just need to get that appointment with the doctor, is the better way to do it. But what was kind of funny about it was she was sold on it. So what I learned is I just needed to come up with trigger words. That's all they need to know, is some trigger words. So that way, when she goes around to the doctor, she's saying the word volunteer, and she's saying 5 to 15 patients. That's all I want him to hear. This guy needs to volunteer for his class, and he's got 5 to 15 patients. And we're not lying, because we're a part of a real online class, so we're not making stuff up. We want that testimonial. If you think about it, even if you pay out of your own pocket $100, $100 is worth it for an amazing testimonial, because now you have something to pitch to people. Here's the other thing people need to know about the cold calling, though. I'm a big fan of gold digging. So the first few scoops of gold that you dig, you do for free. You're just scooping dirt until you strike the gold. And so I only use free trials and cold calling just to find that initial vein of gold. And then we chase that vein of gold with referrals as far as we can go. So it's not like I don't want to offer free trials my whole life and cold call every customer. You don't have to. You just got to find the vein of gold. I mentioned my student David earlier. He doesn't have to cold call anymore, because he struck a vein of gold that was so good that he can just reach out and grab chiropractors all day long because of the referrals. And so people get this idea that cold calling is the rest of my life from 8 o'clock to 4 o'clock, I'm going to be with a headset doing. No, that's not the case. We're just using it as a traffic source to get money in your pocket, because the quickest, like, these other methods are amazing. Like, you should use them, the cold email, you should do all that. But you should be starting with cold calling, in my opinion, until you have clients. Because if you don't have money coming in, you're going to have to go get a job, and then everything's getting screwed over.
I love it. So there's a couple things that you mentioned there that I thought were fantastic that I want to bring up as well. And they're very relatable to what I'm talking about. It's very fun to kind of hear from your end and how I'm utilizing a very similar tactic in a different way. So first of all, trials wise, we're not going to dive in there because we can have another Friday face off on trials. If you believe, I'll make it very simple. If you believe that you are capable of generating leads in 3 to 7 days online, not using your own money, they need to pay you at least 150, 300 bucks. You're capable of doing it. No problem. I have no issue with that. If you're not capable of doing it, don't pretend that you are, because it's a waste of your time. So anyways, moving on to the next piece of this, he was talking about the student strategy, this idea of calling up as a cold caller and stating that this is a student opportunity, volunteer work. Love this idea and this framing of this entire conversation. Here's how I use a very similar frame for what I call market research calls. Now, what I said before, right, was that it's very important to be able to understand your customer avatar, right? How do Ross and I know what's going to be captivating to speak about when we're on this live right now? Because Ross and I not only are our customer avatar, digital marketers and teaching digital marketers, but we know exactly what you guys need. People ask all the time about cold calls. I've had several ads where all my ads are running based on the idea of no more cold calls, where Ross, on the other hand, could be, let me teach you the best type of cold calls, right? It's okay. It doesn't matter which one you choose. The focus is on us really understanding our customer avatar. You need to be able to do that for all of the people that you want to work with. That's why we talk about niching and specializing, so it's easier for you consistently to reach out to these people. Now, people ask me, Alex, how do you know what these customers need? How do you know what their pain points are? How do you know their business model? How do you know what they're marketing with? Yes, there's spy tools online and there's research you can do on Google, obviously, but everyone always wants to do what? Cut the learning curve, right? How do I cut the learning curve? How do I get all this information for me right now in a document? What am I looking for? This is what I do with cold calls, and I call them market research calls. And it's very, very similar to what Ross is saying, and you guys should absolutely utilize it. Whether you want to offer the trial or you just want to get information, we don't care. Just go out there and make something happen and let us know how it happened, because that's what we're here to do. We want to see you guys grow your business, make 2017 end off on a strong note, and go into 2018 with momentum. That's why we're here today. There's no offer. There's no special, oh, we made a cold call, non-cold call. That's not it. We didn't do anything. We're here just to share value with you, and that's why we're doing this. Now, here's what I do. I would call someone up that's in the business model or niche that you're looking for. Let's take chiropractors, for example, because again, seems to be that everyone's going for chiropractors. Guys, don't do chiropractors. There's a lot of better niches. Come on now. But anyways, you would call up and either you're speaking to a gatekeeper or probably the person, setting appointments. Everyone basically is a gatekeeper if you're not speaking to the decision maker. And that's the focus. So here's the thing though. The decision maker and the gatekeeper may have similar information in regards to market research. They're not going to make the same decision to pay you, but they can still have very quality information because they're part of the business. Now, with that being said, utilize that to your advantage. You can call any business at any time. No one's going to stop you from doing that. It's not illegal. You're allowed to do it. You can cold call. It's allowed. So how do you use that to your advantage if you're uncomfortable asking for a free trial like Ross is talking about? How do you learn about your customer then to create an offer that's valuable for them via email? Perhaps you like Ross's script and you want to convert that from being a cold call script to being a cold email script. That can work. Why not? Same exact thing. You just write it down in an email. Can't hurt. Now, here's the idea. When you call someone up and you're talking to them and you mention, hey, look, my name is Alex Schlinsky. I'm the owner of Prospecting on Demand, a local digital marketing agency here in Tampa. Now, I'm a recent student for marketing. I just started this agency and I'm trying to figure out the best practices that chiropractors use for marketing. Now, I know you're super busy, but I'm calling just to ask you a couple questions. Do you mind if I ask you 3 to 5 questions about your marketing? I'm not here to sell you anything. Most people, and obviously you can convolute that or change that however you like. You can say digital marketer, you can remove it. There's some little tweaks here and there that you can make. But the point is, you're doing the same thing that Ross was talking about before, asking for help, saying, I'm seeking out help. I'm looking to help myself and help my business by seeking your help. Now, I did this live in Powerhouses a couple months ago. I called a local dentist and it was a great opportunity. I called a couple businesses. One of them was like, no, hung up. Oh, great. Okay. Now we see rejection live. Then another one picks up and she's like, oh yeah, no problem. Ask me any questions you want. Well, how about you tell me about your marketing? Oh, well, we're doing great on Yelp and we're doing fantastic with, print ads, and we're doing great with Facebook, but we haven't figured out Google yet. Oh, that's great. What's your biggest pain points? Seems to be that in the summer days, we don't get enough leads. Okay, good to know. What's your biggest offer? X, Y, and Z. You're just starting to learn about this customer avatar. And as you're writing it down, or better yet, recording it so you don't try to write while speaking, very hard to do, by the way. Writing notes while speaking, allowing your brain to do two things at once is hard. So try to record your calls if you can. It will be very valuable for you. Just like Ross said before, right? He didn't mention this, but he said that he called someone, he liked how the rapport went. She was really interested. When she reiterated it to the doctor, he wasn't interested. How did Ross remember that? Probably recorded it so that he can listen back and figure out the keywords that he needs. Recording calls is vital, whether it's cold calls, warm calls, sales calls, don't care, record your calls. This call is being recorded. We're going to post it on YouTube. It's recorded. It's valuable. So then you can go back and watch it. That's the point, right? So when you're actually doing these warm calls, you want to position yourself as a student, which, like Ross said, is not a lie. It's not a bait and switch. It's true. You are a student. You are relatively new to this game. You're learning about this audience. You want to know more about them. And there's people that will be willing to help, and there's people that won't be willing to help. Go after the ones that are willing to help. If you get a no, who gives a crap? Go to the next one on Google and call them. It makes no difference. If you search chiropractor in your area right now, there's got to be at least 20 on Google, at minimum. I mean, what, you can't make 20 calls? You can't handle 18 rejections for 2 people that will give you some vital information about their business model, about why they're struggling to see a return on the investment from print ads, and how you can potentially use that for your marketing and your emails and your script building and your LinkedIn process and your ads. It's very valuable to have that information. That's what I call market research calls. That's what Ross is doing with his cold calls. You can see how it's similar. Now, here's the best part. Ross and I did not plan this prior to the call. We were just like on here. We're like, yeah, we'll be fine. We'll go back and forth. And it seems to me that there's a very similar characteristics of what we do with different slight offers. What you need to do, the person watching this right now, take and glean the value however you like it. Choose to go with cold calls if you want, or choose to do market research. We don't care. But don't just watch this video, go in here and one out the other. Implement this. It's Friday, December 1st. Utilize it. Go ahead, Ross.
No, I was going to say one thing that I would, if like they do that market research call, one thing that I would try to do if it was me, because I think that could be a cool script. I've never tried that one myself. But the reason why mine has worked well is because I add in a selfish advantage to them participating by them getting clients. So I would possibly say that, depending on what they do, like if you did say, hey, I'm going to try, like I grew my business, not to brag, just in honesty, I grew it over $20,000 a month within 3 months, 2.5 months, offering trials. And so it does work. And if you could say, hey, if you guys would participate in just answering these 5 questions, I'll give you guys 7 days of free leads or something.
I love that. Now you're combining them. It's beautiful.
Yeah, then you can add a selfish twist to it. Because I've tried to do, it's funny, like I've tried to do polls for digital marketers to find pain points. And sometimes it's like pulling teeth to get good answers. But then if you offer something to them, if they do participate, all of a sudden everybody wants to participate in it. And so let's see, there's a couple questions I wanted to touch on here real quick. Sean had said, if you did 1 hour of each, which results would you get? I think that's a pretty interesting question, because it is true. If you were to do an hour of LinkedIn and prospecting, stuff like that, versus an hour of cold calling, I can almost guarantee you would see quicker results initially with the cold calling. Doesn't mean you shouldn't do LinkedIn, just means it's a more passive thing. But to his point, I wanted to bring something up. So I remember when I used to work at a ski and cycle store, breaking into sales. I'm 15 years old, high-end recreational equipment, expensive stuff. During the slow months, the owner used to say, when people ask you if we're busy, I keep you guys busy all day long. So just say, yeah, we're busy. Because no one likes to buy from losers. And it's true. People they want to know, there's got to be that social proof that whatever they're doing, other people want it.
Of course.
And so I feel like sometimes sitting behind your computer and sending out the emails and this and that, because you don't feel that I just had a student who signed up who's local. He's an older guy. He's in his probably 50s, early 50s. He signed up 2.5 weeks ago. The guy's got appointments all over the place, cold calling. And you felt like he was a winner. Like you felt like, because I've been meeting up with him, like I want to do business with this guy. And I'm like, I'm teaching this guy and I want to do business with this guy. And the idea behind it, though, is that when you're busy like that, you will land more clients without a trial, even though you're offering trials, just because you're busy and your perceived value goes up when you're
I agree.
busy. Let's see here. The other question is how do you navigate around gatekeepers? That's a good question. I do ask if if the person's around, but the problem is if you ask if the business owner's there or if the gatekeeper's there or if the doctor's there, whatever, they immediately know it's a sales call
Sales
because
call.
that's how all sales calls start off. So rather than do that, I just give them the respect. And what I do is my whole goal is I'm not going to pitch them on that initial call anyways. I'll screw it up. I want to set up an appointment, a strategy meeting, where they give me their undivided attention. And so I'll just speak. I don't plan on selling I don't feel like, oh, I failed because they said they'll call me back. I give them enough trigger words. And when they say email me information, I email them a link to my broadcast page with my pixel in it. So that way, when they open up that email and they see my broadcast page with a little mini presentation to set up a strategy call, they're also seeing my ads all over the place.
Yep.
The second that they did that. So let's see here. The other question is here. Just got a oh, that's one of my students saying you just got a message from a dentist. Let's see here. Are you working
Martin
from
Rogers? It's kind of interesting what he said. He did a tiny experiment last week. He did 10 cold calls with decision makers. He got 1 yes and then canceled, 1 no, 8 not available. He then used LinkedIn prospecting, got 10 connections, 2 appointments. 1 called me and 1 asked me to call them. Obviously, very small sample, but the point that we're seeing here is there's success across the board. And Ross and I knew that when we were coming on here.
Yeah.
What we're hoping to do is enlighten even one of you to say, maybe I could try that. Maybe I should try that. It can't hurt. Sean asked a really good question. I think he's part of your group as well. Sean mentioned, he said, I wasn't clear how you turn research calls into sales if you tell them it isn't a sales call. Can you explain? Great. I don't turn my research calls into sales. I'll tell you why. So here's the thing. First of all, if I'm framing that this is not a sales call, if you mention that, don't make it a sales call. It's that simple. Don't do it. If you want to make the offer that Ross is bringing up on a market research call at the end of your questions, let's say you've spoken for 10 minutes or so, you got the value, you understand some pain points, you understand maybe what they're doing with marketing. You can mention, hey, now I also mentioned to you earlier that I am a marketer and I'm still relatively new at this. Would you be interested potentially in being a part of my free trial for 7 days with X, Y, and Z? So kind of combining the market research idea that I have and this cold call idea that Ross has, that's how you can use it. But you can't do that if you mention, I'm not going to sell you anything. That is a bait and switch. It's a crappy tactic. It lacks integrity. Don't do it. It's not worth it. But Sean, how do I utilize my technique and how does this go? I'll tell you exactly. And I think this is the difference that Ross and I have, and both of them will work. It's just how you want to utilize it. And that's what it comes down to. So like I said, I don't really enjoy doing cold calls with sales. If you're doing a free trial, it's obviously a lot different than trying to make a $1,500 sale. I think it's possible. I think anything's possible. You can close someone at $1,500 on a cold call. Just the amount of time it would take to do that, probably not worth it. Getting someone to close with you on a trial, probably not too difficult. I'm sure there's no's, of course. It's not like 100%. Nothing is. But there's opportunity there. Now, here's what I do. First, understanding the market and the people that you're going after. So it starts with those market research calls. Once you now have an understanding of your avatar, I would then create a cold email sequence. Usually cold email sequence should be 3 to 5 emails. That's my opinion. Usually what I recommend is a Monday, Wednesday, Friday email sequence. I think it's really easy to kind of cover the entire week. And then the following week, you can do follow-up calls. And here's what I go with warm follow-up calls. So as a layout, Sean, here we go. You got 1, the market research call or market research in general. It doesn't have to be a call. Just learning about your avatar, learning about your customer, learning about what they need from you. Then you create a script relevant with those hot keywords that Ross is talking about in the call. You do the same thing via email with a prospecting offer. Prospecting offers include the most common prospecting offer is the free trial, but that's kind of jumping to the jugular. You can go for it if you want, or you can try other standard prospecting offers like video audit, review audit of their reviews online, their web presence, website audit, competitor analysis. There's tons. Content analysis. There's tons. A great resource is simplymeasured.com/freebies. They have like 10, 12, maybe 20 even free like audit formats that you can use. Go for it. It's awesome. Utilize it. It's great. It's free. So you can do that, right? So you're going to set up some sort of prospecting offer on those emails. Now those that prospecting offer is then going to lead you to be able to book a call with them. Now you can put the Calendly link or the Acuity or Schedule Once link in the email, or you can make the offer, wait for them to respond, then send them the link. Either way works. You just need to split test it and utilize it best. Now,
can I ask? Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Ask you a question on that. How this is my and I'm trying to word it in a respectful way. I guess my question on that though is, how do you stand out? Because every digital marketer is doing that.
So here's it. It's perfect. It's a great setup. It's like you knew what I was about to say. Great setup. So how do we make ourselves different, right? If this one company is getting 500 emails, how should he look at Ross's email versus my email versus the 25 to 60 people watching today? How do we stand ourselves out? Here's how you make yourself stand out. One, you do more research than the others. That's not the greatest answer, right? That's not where I'm going with this, but make sure that your answer is not cut and paste same for every niche. You want to utilize key terms that are related to that specific business. Not, hey, can your business use new leads? Be specific. Be specific. Hey, can your chiropractic agency handle 10 more disc compression clients this month? Something like that, right? Be more specific, use those keywords. You will be at an advantage of the people that don't. Now, still, how do you utilize the effect of getting in front of them when there's 500 other emails in their inbox? If that's
I didn't mean that. I meant like the audits and stuff, because like this whole audit thing, and I'm gonna audit your Facebook. I feel like those things are like not sexy offers, and no one, because like everyone's trying those.
Of course,
Go
ahead.
That's what I meant, because I mean I know how to stand out in like your cold emails, but I mean, how do you, when your offer is something like that? Because you can almost only stand out as good as your offers to some degrees.
Of course, that's 100% what it is. That's all it is. Your offer is the main focus of it. Your offer has to be directly relevant to the biggest pain point that they have. That's how it works. Now, there's one real great piece of script that we use consistently. I already mentioned it, but I'll mention it again, and it works very, very well. Usually, you can mention this on the second or third email. It's not a great first email because it comes off very strong, but after getting a couple emails, it's very good to ask very simply, hey, Ross, can your company handle 10 more clients this month? You will get an answer to that question on LinkedIn, email, Facebook, anywhere you ask it 99% of the time, because everyone wants to get more clients. And they'll say, yeah, absolutely. Well, why haven't you? Why don't you get 10 extra clients this month? They don't have the answer to that because they are not marketing effectively. That's how you can get them on the call. It's not an offer. It's a way to stand out. But here's what I do to stand out most. And this is my warm call plan. And this is my idea besides for cold calls. So I love setting up cold email campaigns, compiling that with LinkedIn, compiling that with advertising, compiling that with Facebook outreach. That's my favorite kind of thing to do. Now, how do you make it simpler when you're doing cold outreach and warm calls? Warm calls are just as follows. You have your 3 to 5 day email sequence. At either halfway through the sequence or at the end of the sequence, you give this business a call. And you say, hey there, I'm Alex Slinsky from Prospecting on Demand. I sent you some emails over to x@x.com. I wanted to ensure that you received them. Now, in that email, I offered you X, Y, or Z, and I also asked you specifically about ABC. Now, the reason I'm calling you today is because I want to see if you need more clients for whatever it may be, and you can use that line again. And this now becomes a warm call rather than a cold call, because they have something to fall back on, and you have something to fall back on. Because guess what? If they're there, sitting there at the computer, and you sent it to info@spinedirector.com, and they go, oh, I do see this email. Yeah, it seems like, Dr. B opened this up. I think he might want to talk to you. Let's schedule something. That is what I do with warm follow-ups, and that's what I recommend the POD family to do, and a ton of people utilize it. Hosen Toe, who's on here today, he was part of one of the reasons that I created this idea. Him and I kind of created a great follow-up script, which is fantastic, works really well, and this is my plan for what we would say cold calling. Now, it's semantics, right? You could say just as much that it's cold calling as warm calls, but I'm saying it's warm calls, so that's my style. So this is kind of where I go with it, and this was my ultimate coup de grace, like where I was coming for on this call, this idea of warm calls versus cold calls. And I think one of the great things that we've all learned here today is, again, there's multiple options and there's multiple ways to utilize it. What you have to do is create the system that you feel confident with, the one that's going to create you opportunities right now, that's not going to cost a lot of money, not going to take a lot of time, and create you opportunities today. Whether that is immediate cold calls up front, whether that is market research, creating an email, sending, doing follow-up calls, whatever it may be. understand first, you have to understand your customer avatar. You have to provide value. Your offer has to stand out. You have to use hot terms and keywords. You have to be able to either avoid the gatekeeper or understand what to tell the gatekeeper, and then be confident. I think Ross and I would agree the biggest single factor of this entire process is confidence. You got to be confident. Believe in yourself. Believe in your offer. Believe that you can truly help the businesses you work with. Ross and I share a same opinion, and that is we truly care about the people we work with, businesses or students. We want to help you guys grow. If you feel that way for the people that you're working with, whether they're local businesses, large businesses, single moms, doesn't matter, then you're going to be fine because you can be confident knowing that your business and your offer is coming from a place of integrity, that you care about wanting to help them, that you're trying to create a mutually beneficial agreement. And that's why Ross and I wanted to come on here today and share this value with you. Ross, anything else you'd like to share before we hop off today?
Yeah, you know what? Just a few guys, because I love I love this sort of stuff. This was great. Um, Nothing great happens outside of our comfort zones. So I would love to, just for if anyone has any takeaway, to just try to hop outside your comfort zone just a little bit,
Yes.
and or a lot of it. Um, it's when you start doing things that you didn't think, that's when you start getting results you didn't think you could get. And by going into where other people don't want to go, you see great results. So whether you call it cold call, warm call, what I learned from this is really we both have the same style of calling, just some minor differences.
Yep.
So whether you want to do whatever, do that. But then also, I wanted to just really quick throw a quick added value to something you said earlier.
Sure.
You talked about an email where you talked about, can you handle this many clients? One thing that has been helping my cold email a lot is I say almost the same thing, but instead of saying clients, I use the word referrals, because technically these are online referrals. So it is referral, but that word referral does not sound scammy or spammy.
That's my thought right there
genuine.
Too. I like that a lot.
And so when I just changed that one little thing, adding the word referral. Also, you look into voicemail drops. Use your scripts on voicemail drops. I've been using those. Do the cold email thing the way you're doing, and I think that like you said earlier, the point of this whole thing is that we want to see everybody get results. There's more than one way to swing a golf club and still get the ball in the hole.
Absolutely.
And you know what? If your style is that you're working all day, then it might be good to make sure that you have this online, well-oiled machine really running well right away. But if you're going into this and this is what you're going to do, I think that cold calling is the quickest way, or whatever calling is the quickest way to start getting paying clients. But one thing that is important to know is nobody wants to do cold calling, but everybody wants money.
Yes, definitely.
And I tell people that I will kick your butt. I will absolutely steal your clients right from your hands, because I will work harder than you for them if you don't want to work. Like this whole idea that I'm going to push a button and I'm going to have all these clients just come through my funnel and start paying me $1,500 a month makes me laugh, because it's just not reality of how life works. Like I work a good solid 40 to 55 hours every single week, if not more. And what happens is these gurus, as you know, they sell people on not working. And they make them think they're going to make money not working.
There is definitely work necessary. Neither Ross and I will tell you that this is simple, that it's the easiest thing in the world to do. There's work. You can create opportunities, though. You're not doing this. You're not an entrepreneur to sit back and do no work. If that's the case, man, you're in the wrong business.
Go into affiliate marketing.
Exactly. Yeah. Do something else. One thing I will leave you guys with here, and Ross just mentioned it about value voice drops. This is an interesting one. I used to work with a company 2-3 years ago, and that's where I started doing some cold calls originally. And we were doing value voice drops for them. And it was very unique, something that a lot of people don't do. Rather than leaving a voicemail like this: "Hey Ross, Alex Shinsky from Prospecting on Demand. Hope you're doing well. Wanted to give you a call today because of X, Y, and Z. Let me know if you can give me a call back, 954, blah, 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 blah." And that's just a waste, right? That doesn't do anything. He's not going to listen to that message and think, I got to get in touch with this guy right away. Leave a valuable voicemail. Either you're offering as the script that you mentioned, whether it's, "Hey, can you handle more clients? Hey, I'm a market research. Hey, I'm a student looking for this." Or something of straight value, like, "Hey, I saw online that your competitor's doing this. You're not doing this. Do you know why? If you want to learn more, give me a call back. It can't hurt to try." What's the problem, guys? One thing that I think Ross will agree with me here, and we can all agree on, is don't worry about rejection. Anytime someone says no to you, brush it off and move on. Consistently take action, consistently keep trying, and never, ever give up. Keep pushing forward. Guys, I will be with Ross either next week or the week after in his group. Ross, why don't you tell us about that group? Then we can head off here for the day.
It sounds good, man. Yeah, absolutely. And to your point as far as rejection, if someone says no, that just means you don't have to waste your time trying to warm up somebody who doesn't want to be warmed up. But next week, it's going to be pretty cool. So Alex is going to teach us, I think you're going to show us some of your prospecting methods, right?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
I can't remember. What did we say that you were going to talk about in the group? It was prospecting, right?
Should we keep it a secret?
No, I want to pitch it. I remember what it was. You were going to talk about niches.
Let's do it.
So I'm sure we will.
What we spoke about today, right? We spoke about some market research. We spoke about, I'll tell you guys why everyone should be niching in chiropractic and dentistry. That's a joke. No one should be doing that. We're going to have some really good stuff next week. That is in Client Acquisition Mastery, right? Is that the group?
Yep, Client Acquisition Mastery.
I'll throw the link in here below. Everyone feel free to join it. It's a free group. And I will see you guys on the next one. Thanks so much for being here, Ross.
Who won?
I think the viewers won. I think the viewers won.
Okay, I'm just playing with it.
All right, guys. We appreciate it so much.
Okay. See you, man.